It's not a regular occurrence that this feast of the Assumption would fall on a Sunday, but here we are, the feast of Mary being assumed into heaven, body and soul. It certainly goes without saying that our faith is centered in Jesus Christ. But our faith also teaches us that there is much we can learn from other people of faith throughout the centuries. And certainly the importance of Mary as one of those models, examples of faith, is never to be underestimated. And so today it gives us an opportunity, if you will, to reflect upon Mary, who in some ways has led the way, or at least reminded us about the way of life and of faith, and how to integrate that into our lives now and in the future. We know of Mary's example of her yes to God to be the mother of the Savior. We hear about that in what we call the Annunciation. Mary, you've been chosen. And she said, thy will be done. I will be that vehicle, if you will, that messenger that brings Christ into the world, not only literally, but figuratively. And then Mary leads the way again for us in being the first person who is raised, the first person, if you will, to share in the resurrection of her Son. And Mary, without, knowing it, probably might have been the first, or at least the best, expression of the church's full acceptance of the feminine. The feminine. Let's be honest here, the world of Jesus was a pretty male-dominated time. And so the importance of Mary is not to be underestimated. Now, Mary didn't push for woman's rights, so to speak, at the time, but rather it was God. It was God who wanted everyone to know that all people are equal, that all have values that are important, that all have gifts and talents and abilities that are not to be overlooked, and that can be brought to the general good of everyone here on earth in every aspect of living and life. We know more in our era, so to speak, of the movement of women, but it really focuses back to an earlier time, something we should not forget. The Song of Mary that we hear in the Gospel today is often referred to as the Magnificat, Mary's proclamation, Mary's song, if you will, of the goodness of God to her. This is a song of faith, a song that certainly praises the actions of God throughout all times. Yes, Mary has her reason to proclaim that and to remind us of the goodness of God, but so do we. I would suggest to you that Mary's song urges us to see God's activities, God's presence, if you will, in the everyday world in which we're living. I guess one way to put that is sometimes we take events and things and people for granted. But often in what they're doing, that's God working through them. That's yes to God wanting to work through them. How is God working through us? How are we saying yes, as Mary said yes? Mary's song, Magnificat, I think, urges us to continue to raise up people, regardless of their gender or race or color or creed. I guess you call it respect, but to raise them up, to encourage them. And so here we are on a feast day of Mary. That reminds us of our future too, because one day we too will be raised up by our God. But till then, we hopefully will continue to proclaim, as Mary did, the goodness of the Lord, not only for ourselves, but the goodness of the Lord in others, that goodness that continues to be revealed to us this day and will be in days to come.